Hi everyone, this is Julianne Victoria. Welcome to my channel and welcome to the 2022 Year Ahead Vedic Astrology readings. So these readings will be looking at the planetary placements in the year ahead. So the planetary placements on January 1st, 2022 and how they relate to your chart. Of course, as usual, to get a more in-depth personal reading, a personal reading will be required. And I am opening up readings for year ahead readings, Vedic astrology, Western astrology, as well as some tarot reading options. And the link is below in the description box for that. Also, if you're interested in taking one of my online courses that I offer over on Teachable, those will only be available through the end of 2021. And those include the Journey Through the Nakshatras course and Shedding Light on Your Karma and Dharma. Those courses include PDFs and downloads. So if you're interested in those, you want to get them before they're not available anymore, check below, find the links. I'll pin them at the top of the comments as well so you can find them and see if it's something you're interested in. All right, let's get on to our year ahead readings. Hi Scorpio, welcome to your 2022 year ahead Vedic astrology reading. So let's get right down to it. So this is a chart for the new year, January 1st, 2022 with Scorpio, first house, your chart. Of course, how this lays on top of the planets and the drishtis, etc. in your natal chart will give more details. So this is just the general reading. But looking at this, you have quite an intense energy, the intense sign of Scorpio, for the year ahead. So your ruler, Scorpio, Mars, is sitting right here in the first house. First house is the house of the self, you, the individual. You can even say your personality, who you are. And of course, we also have the moon here and K2. With your ruler here in your sign in the first house, I feel very, I'm trying to find the word here, very, I guess, ambitious energy for you, Scorpio, for the year ahead. I feel energy, actually. So Mars represents, everyone knows conflict and war, but also energy and passion and drive. I feel it's a year 2022 of having more energy, physical energy, because the first house represents your physical body and form. And I also want to say, not exactly mental energy, but energy coming from your psyche, if that makes any sense. And that I feel also because the moon is here in your first house, and both the moon and Mars are in the nakshatra of Jeshta, which is one of those Gandanta points. It intensifies the intensity of Scorpio. And with those being together, it's like this energy is coming up from your psyche. So it's not just like your intellect, your mind, but from your psyche. It's coming through you. I almost want to say it will feel like to you that energy is pouring out of you relative to the past year or two, or maybe even further back. Yeah. I feel Scorpios will have the desire, the passion, and I want to say the insight, psychic insight, to accomplish quite a lot this year ahead. Now we also have K2 here. Of course, in a natal chart, K2 represents past karma, past lives. It can be that, but this is a transit chart, right? So more importantly to me, it's representing 2021, the past, but it can be the past of any period of this lifetime. I want to say, Scorpios, you're done with the past. That's the first I felt for this K2 for these year ahead readings. You're done with the past. You got it. It's funny. Other readings, I'm like, oh, you need to learn from the past. But as Scorpio, you got it. You've learned from the past, and you haven't like tossed it away. You aren't ignoring it now. You're holding that dear. Like, this was what I did before. This is what happened, good or bad. I understand that. It's part of my motivation. It's part of my psyche or even psychic drive. and it's fueling all this energy for you. Like I'm just, you can't see me. I'm like just vibrating, like shaking in my chair. I feel all this energy for you for 2022. And it's going to be deep to you. Other people may not feel that, but internally with this combination and gesta for you, it's this deep fire of passion and just desire to accomplish things. And I almost see like some Scorpios patting themselves on the back because of what they've endured. And I feel that's a key word, what you've endured in the past year, few years, or even longer. Congratulating yourself for what you've accomplished and overcome. It doesn't mean there aren't still things to learn from the past, but you've done quite a bit, Scorpio. You've done quite a bit. And now you're taking from all of that and putting things into action that you want to do, that you're guided to do. And you feel the energy physically too. So more physical energy as well. So any Scorpios who've had any illness or anything, or just life circumstances that have been difficult and you've just been low energy, that energy is coming back for you in 2022. It may not happen on January 1st. It may happen before, it may happen a few months later, but it's coming back for you. Okay. Moving on to your second house, Scorpio. Second house is a house of money, gains, and finances, material things, your stuff. I call it the house of stuff, your possessions. Your second house is the sign of Sagittarius. And we have the sun here, of course, and Venus. So as a house of gains, it's not necessarily the gains from your career. That's 11th house, but it can overlap. And because the sun is here and the sun rules Leo, your 10th house of career, I feel for some Scorpios, depending on what it is you do, but especially if you're self-employed or you're motivated to start your own thing this year, that things are going to be looking good financially overall, wherever that comes from. And again, that can be relative to 2021 or the past few years. But with the sun here, again, ruling your 10th house, Leo, you're going to be happy with your finances and your gains this year. So that doesn't guarantee every Scorpio out there is going to be a millionaire. You're going to double your income. But I would say you're very unlikely to be disappointed with finances and gains. I view second house also as a house of inheritance. That can also be seen in the 8th because it's house of death. But second house can also be a house of inheritance gains because it's gains that come typically not from your career, but they can, especially in this case. So it may be some sort of inheritance come in. That doesn't mean someone has to pass. It could be a gift from family or something you've been waiting on, owed to you. But overall, with the sun here shining brightly in your second house, it looks to be a good year for finances or possessions. And that could even be you sell some possessions and bring in more financial liquid gains. It could be investments. It could be all sorts of things. But overall, it looks good concerning material, wealth, and finances. Venus here, she is retrograde, which tends to internalize the energy, which I actually kind of like. Only because I'm feeling like if Venus was not retrograde in this chart, it could bring in a little bit of superficial energy, but because it's internalized, it's more reflective. That many Scorpios, whatever this good financial situation is, whether that just means a steady income that you haven't had or a gift comes in or whatever it might be, that you won't go splurge on superficial things. That you'll think, what is it I really want? Oh, I really need to, my beat up car needs to be replaced, and you buy a nice looking new one, right? So you're not going to foolishly splurge on whatever gains come in or the good financial situation in the year ahead. You're going to be reasonable about it and happy about it, right? But this Venus here, it also indicates, if there's some nice things you want that you can now afford at some point in 2022 that aren't so superficial or silly or unreasonable, you'll get them. Like, oh, your beat up car works, but it's time for a new car. You can get a nicer looking car or whatever it might be, right? So, yeah, things look good financially, materially for Scorpios in 2022. Your third house, we have Mercury and Saturn. Your third house is the sign of Capricorn, and Capricorn is ruled by Saturn. So Saturn is very strong, very happy here. Saturn can bring obstacles, delays, and restrictions. But I haven't felt that energy a whole lot doing these year ahead readings. It just feels very stable and anchored wherever Saturn is. And that's because he's been in Capricorn. He's going to be there for till 2023, except for a toe dip into Aquarius for like a month, but he's basically here all year. And he's here with Mercury, who's the natural ruler of the third house. Third house is communication, your neighbors, your community, short distance travel, day trips, weekend trips, and so on. But for the most part, it's a house of communication. Now, with Saturn here, that can bring in distancing and communications, or a distancing in some way, but again, it doesn't feel negative. And it could be because Saturn also rules Aquarius, that there is some distancing, your fourth house, with where you live, or a distancing from family. And so communication changes to add a distance. But again, it doesn't feel like it's sad. It's like, okay, well, now we'll talk via FaceTime or Zoom or something. Saturn is also stability and solid foundation. So for those whom you have good communication with, especially if you are, because again, Saturn rules your fourth house, are moving or separating from family in some way, if there's a strong relationship there, it will strengthen it even more. I know that sounds funny, but if it's strong relations there, it will strengthen it more. And any superficial relationships will break up because of this shift, which I actually feel is a good thing. It's interesting, like there's a lot of breaking away or consciously like removing yourself from superficial things, whether it's material things or people in a sense, which I wasn't expecting to say. But it all feels quite positive. And then of course we have Mercury here. This combination is very disciplined for those who are writers, bloggers, speakers. You communicate something regularly or you want to. The discipline for all that is here, which is wonderful. And any communications, whether it's your normal texting or your normal emails or the normal stuff you do, I want to say will be more thought out and not rushed with Saturn energy. So any Scorpios who, like you get emails and you're like, oh, I got to answer it now. You'll be like, okay, well, I need to do this and this and this, and I'll get to it later. And it won't bother you or stress you as much. And I actually think that's better because it will be more thought out. Okay. And I feel that was something that's just going to come automatically. You don't have to try to make this happen. And in your fourth house, as I've already mentioned, the house of home and family, as well as property, mother, past lives. We have your fourth house is the sign of Aquarius, which again ruled by Saturn, so there's some connection there. We have Jupiter, lucky, expansive, growth orientated Jupiter in your fourth house. So for Scorpios who want to grow their home, it's also a house of family, could be your own family, also can be the family you come from. But if you want to grow your home and you're growing your family, or maybe your extended family is growing this year, that's possible. It's likely to happen. So growing your home, like you want to move to someplace bigger, or you want to expand and remodel. This is like my number one. Should I remodel my home? It's like, well, is Jupiter there? So you're transiting there. That's the best thing you want for expansion of your home. So moving to someplace bigger, more spacious, remodeling, even if the remodeling isn't to make it bigger, but you're changing it, you're expanding it for yourself. Or you're looking to buy a home. This is good energy for the year ahead. Or even, you rent a room and you want your own apartment, whatever it might be. It brings in good energy for growth, expansion, and for your home to be more of what you like, or for growing your family. You want to have children, you want to adopt, or maybe your family again just grows, like extended family, siblings and cousins are having babies and all that stuff, or someone getting married even. That's possible too. And actually, on that note, for those Scorpios looking for a spouse, I don't normally bring this up, but for some reason, Jupiter for female Scorpios looking for a male spouse, or depending on your gender, you're looking for a male partner in your home. Jupiter could bring that in here. Not guaranteed, but it popped up in my mind, so I thought I should add that in. And then lastly, in your 7th house, actually this kind of ties in, in your 7th house of relationships, the house of the other. So 1st house is you, or the I, the individual, and 7th house is the house of the other. So house of relationships in general, how you view relationships, but specifically spouse, partner, boyfriend, girlfriend, etc. We have Rahu. So ambition, motivation, the head of the snake, the focus. This combination here, it could be an indicator, Scorpios are going to meet someone and you end up living together, or you start a family together, or you already have met someone, because technically Rahu has been here, and that relationship gets solidified and you start a family or you move in together. So that's a strong possibility for many Scorpios out there. Of course, it also depends on, how these are laying on top of the planets and the drishtis from there in your natal chart. Okay. It's definitely a you year, Scorpio, with your ruler here starting off the year. All this energy. And looking at the karmic axis here, Ketu and Rahu, when it comes to relationships, because there is a strong focus on relationships here with Rahu in the 7th, which could also play out as business partners and best friends. But looking at this axis, you've learned a lot from past relationships, whether they're, spouse, partner, boyfriend, girlfriend, romantic relationships, close friends, business relations, etc., any sort of partnerships. You've learned a lot from the past. Again, doesn't mean there isn't some stuff to learn, but you've learned a lot. I feel like Scorpios have got that, and now you're tapping deep within, all this energy coming through from your psyche and feeling it physically, that you're ready for the right relationships in your life. And if you're in some right relationships, they're strong and good to go. Earthy Taurus here. And if you're not, you'll attract them in this year. All right, Scorpio, I'm wishing you the best of luck in 2022. Thank you for watching. All the necessary links are down below in the description box. And again, have a wonderful new year.